Hi guys, so we've learned a bit about cognitivism. This week I've got a great example of when the cognitivist approach was used to train us in CPR and First Aid Level 2 knowledge and skills at the school that I work. The types of knowledge required for CPR and First Aid administration are, according to Tulving, like procedural knowledge, which Tulving in 1985 described as recalling steps and sequences and procedures in performing skills. The level of learning, according to the modified Bloom taxonomy by Anderson and Kurzweil in 2001, is recall and remembering, so the shallowest level of learning, understanding, and then applying, so the execution of those skills. So it's mid-range level knowledge required. According to the Solo taxonomy by Biggs and Collis in 1982, it was the CPR skills and knowledge is a multi-structural kind of knowledge where you have to apply a sequence of skills, perform serial skills. In terms of the presentation of the material, there were a whole bunch of strategies which are in line with the cognitivist theory, which were used by the person holding the course. And these include using both audio and visual modes, so for the students to learn. So the audio method of, like, the presenter speaking was the main mode of information. There were a few visual things as well. At the start of the presentation he had a few slides and a few figures and basic lists of steps, but the main visual cues, visual learning strategies were the use of dummies and the actual defibrillator machine, and seeing how they worked and how to work with those things. There was a lot of rehearsal and imagination of scenarios where we could use different strategies, so all applying our skills. There were a whole bunch of real-world examples that the nurse gave us of his use in the field. But the main thing that I think we all take away from first aid and CPR was the use of mnemonics. And so anyone who's done this training will know that doctors ABCD is just etched into your brain. So the D standing for danger, R standing response is the victim responding to you, S signal for help, I will call 000, A check the airways, B breathing, C compression, start compression, and D the use of defibrillator. That heart has stopped. So yeah, they were, I thought, very useful strategies. In this assessment, I went and did a bit of research, and I found a great example which sort of claims that the use of mnemonics could actually be interfering with storage of information, which goes against the cognitivist theory. So the use of mnemonics is supposed to be a device that cues us to code and chunk information so it's more easily retrieved. But in this case, Brian, Steiner, Pappalardo and Rudd in 2009 found the use of mnemonics in suicide warning signs in the Air Force. Actually, they did a real qualitative study and quantitative study and found that the use of mnemonics actually interfered with how much a learner could store and retrieve information. And so my understanding, my theory about this is that maybe mnemonics are only useful if they are 7 or less symbols and associated with words. For example, doctors A, B, C, D, R, A, B, C, D. So that's, there's the S, is 7. In the case of is path warm for the suicide warning signs, which I've got on the screen now, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 there. So maybe it's the number, because our short-term memory can only take about 7 tasks at once. But another issue could be that it's the complexity of the information we're coding with the mnemonics that could be the problem. So it's easy to remember north, east, west, south. For example, news, I remember north, east, west, south, because there's only 2 things. There's the standing for symbols and the compass points. But if you need to know a whole bunch of skills for each word, which is then starting with a letter in a list, and it's the order of those, then you've got a whole bunch of complexities there. So I think rehearsal and practicing is the key to using those mnemonic cues for recall of information. Okay, hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you. And here's a list of references too that I use. So, thank you. Thanks for listening.